Welcome back, Nerd Squad. There are many superheroes who have a life outside of their work as a superhero, who have jobs and professions, careers even, and some even mirror their life's passion when it comes to being a vigilante. Some work in the everyday world of justice, defending those who sometimes can't defend themselves in the courtroom, as lawyers. Today we are going to be taking a look at those who fight for justice in more ways than one, as we count down the top 10 superheroes who are lawyers. Feel free to throw out your guesses for who will make our cut in the comments below. How many superheroic lawyers do you know? Who would be the top 10 law practicing heroes on your list? And be sure to stick around to the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, court is in session, time to get counting. Number 10, Mr. District Attorney. Mr. District Attorney was a comic series that was actually based off of the original crime drama radio show of the same name, which ran from the late 1930s to the early 1950s. The comic series featured a film noir crime drama feel itself, echoing the style of the times. It featured multiple characters from the radio drama and television series of the franchise, but usually centered around the heroic figure of Mr. District Attorney, often also called Chief. He didn't specifically have superpowers, but he was definitely a heroic figure, and some things that he accomplished definitely made me question whether or not he might actually be a metahuman, because they were pretty fantastical things, let me just say. Number 9, the Two-Gun Kid. Matt Hawk became a lawyer following his schooling at Harvard. But in the 1870s. The Two-Gun Kid is a superhero who first appeared in Marvel Comics in the 1960s and was the second hero to use the name following the original Two-Gun Kid, Clay Harder. Matt Hawk first appeared in issue 60 of the Two-Gun Kid series in 1962 and was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Number 8, the Clock. He'll clean your clock. Another old school superhero, the Clock is a vigilante who first appeared in Funny Pictures Stories, issue number 1 in 1936. The Clock was a wealthy man of high society, eventually revealed to be Brian O'Brien. He often used a ton of gadgets and disguises to defeat criminals, leaving behind a card at the scene reminding the authorities that the clock had struck. Originally though, Brian O'Brien had been a lawyer who left the profession to simply live as a well-to-do and secret crime fighter. The Clock would go on to get a sidekick who looked identical to him and was a former boxer nicknamed Pug. And a little while back, Dynamite actually brought back the old masked superhero and used him as a character in their comic miniseries featuring other classic heroic figures, Masks, which you should check out. It's pretty cool. It's got Green Hornet in it. It's pretty nice. Number 7, Harvey Birdman. Harvey Birdman is a superhero who actually turned attorney from the Hanna-Barbera world of cartoon characters. He had his own adult series on Adult Swim where he, as an attorney, took on defense cases for cartoon characters against his arch enemy turned prosecutor. The show featured childhood characters but with adult themes. And when I was actually rereading about this, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally remember Harvey Birdman. Staying up late and watching that on cartoon channels, like Teletoon. I feel like it was on here in Canada. Number 6, Vigilante / Adrian Chase. DC's Vigilante has been a superhero name worn by many. Over 5 people have worn the name throughout the years. The second person to be known as the Vigilante was Adrian Chase. Chase first appeared as the Vigilante in New Teen Titans issue 23. This iteration of the superhero was created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Adrian worked as a district attorney, trying to fix the justice system and dismantle the corruption from the inside out. However, when his family were targeted and killed as a result of his efforts, he decided to fight for justice on his own terms as the Vigilante. Over time, he came to question his decisions and his actions as a crime fighter, and eventually self-doubt and guilt drove him to take his own life. Poor Adrian Chase. He's got such a tragic story. Number 5, Icon. Arnis was an alien who crash-landed on Earth in a life pod. The emergency life pod he was in disguised him to resemble the first life form it came into contact with. And so Arnis's form changed to resemble that of a baby human boy, similar in appearance and features to the woman who found him. Arnis had adopted the name Augustus Freeman and could not age beyond adulthood, so would now and again pose as his own son to hide his immortality from the humans of Earth, going through generations of family from 1839 when he first crash-landed till present day. He was convinced to become a superhero when his powers were revealed to Raquel Irvin, who encouraged him to do so and to adopt herself as his sidekick. Raquel became Rocket and Arnis became Icon. When he's not fighting crime as the vigilante Icon, he's known as the corrupt bigwig lawyer Augustus Freeman IV. Number 4, Shadowhawk. I like when I have lists where I get to talk about SHADOWHAWK. Not as well known as some of the other attorneys on this list, Paul Johnston as SHADOWHAWK made comic book history as the first HIV-positive character in comics. Mia Dearden and Speedy from DC is a more well-known HIV-positive super, but SHADOWHAWK was actually the first in the 90s. SHADOWHAWK is actually an indie superhero from Image Comics. Paul was a district attorney who refused to be bargained with when it came to looking the other way and letting some criminals off the hook for the crimes they had committed. This resulted in him being made an example of by the criminals who injected him with HIV-positive blood. When news of this spread, it actually ruined Paul, who found himself ostracized and eventually was out of a job because of the stigma surrounding being HIV positive. Much different than when people found out Mia Dearden was HIV positive, unfortunately. This prompted Johnston to team up with an ex-cop and become a vigilante. Number 3, Manhunter. One that I think a lot of us forget. Kate Spencer herself was a former federal prosecutor who set out to become a vigilante after finding herself disappointed with the legal system. She felt too many criminals were able to escape the justice system and get away without consequence. As such, she decided to take the law into her own hands. No one was going to escape on her watch. She outfits herself by blackmailing a criminal weapons manufacturer and originally stole her gear from the evidence locker. Yep. Manhunter is also more known as an anti-hero than a straight-laced super, as she has no qualms really with killing those that she knows to be guilty, which is usually a no-no for most supers, but not for Kate Spencer. Number 2, She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters got her legal degree from UCLA, where she was regarded as one of the top up-and-coming lawyers, academically speaking. She went on to get her master's from Harvard and is known for her work in criminal law. Though she doesn't just practice criminal law, she's very versatile. We've also seen her involved in corporate law as well as domestic law, besides representing various superhero clients as well. And I guess superhero law? However, her involvement in criminal law was actually part of the reason that she became She-Hulk in the first place, when she ended up shot and wounded by one of Nicholas Trask's men. This injury actually prompted Bruce to give her the emergency blood transfusion that would cause her to transform into She-Hulk. Did you know that also some of the issues of her comic series have been written by a lawyer? That's right, Charles Soule is a comic book writer who wrote issues 1 through 12 of Volume 3 of She-Hulk, and he is also an attorney himself and even started his own practice. He has practiced transactional, corporate, and immigration law. Number 1, Daredevil. Probably one of the most well-known lawyers in the world of superheroes, if not in the world of fiction, at least. Matt Murdock is such a good lawyer, he even one time sued to protect his own secret identity, and better yet, he won. So, although at the time everyone actually knew who he was, no one was actually allowed to talk about it. Better yet, Daredevil has also been written at times by Charles Soule, who, like I mentioned previously, is a comic book writer who is also an attorney. Soule himself wrote issues 1 through 28 of Daredevil's 5th volume, which I believe is all of Volume 5. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed this list and learned about some new heroic lawyers that maybe you weren't aware of previously, or maybe you were. How do you feel about superheroes who are also involved in the justice system? Do you think it makes sense? Do you feel that there's a conflict of interest that could maybe hinder them? Or do you think that their life as a vigilante should only help to bolster their efforts and help them to relate more? Do you think that heroic lawyers should be allowed to practice criminal law? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And let us know if you would like to see any other lists involving superheroes who have careers in addition to their life as a crime fighter. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Scary Spider-Man Stories Worth Reading. AR Muhammad comments, it would be interesting to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man bonding with Venom in the upcoming future in the Venomverse/MCU. Hey, you never know, this could happen. I'm surprised they actually managed to even make a Venom movie without this happening previously, especially considering Venom still had all those, unexplained web crawling abilities in the first film. And I am still holding out for a Maximum Carnage-esque story where we get to see Spider-Man and Venom team up to take down Carnage. That would be weird and great. I hope it happens. Ferris Ward remarks, I love 90s comics too. The cactus and the Unipiggy are lucky to be stuck with you for 2 weeks. I'm glad there are other 90s fans out there. One of our editors, my close friend Dylan, actually sent me a picture of a comic book shop that was advertising its 99-cent 90s comics as an alternative to toilet paper, given the fact that some people are finding it hard to get toilet paper right now in the grocery store. And all I could think was, no, where is that comic store? I need to go buy all those 90s comics and save them. Do not use 90s comics as toilet paper. It is not an alternative. And I actually feel like it's the other way around, and I'm really lucky to have these squishies here with me for 2 weeks in this time where I must stay inside. But thank you very much for those kind words. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts acknowledged and responded to in a future list. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. You stay nerdy, YouTube.